everyone. I'm Jenny Griggs, Program Director of Resources for Seniors, Northern and Eastern Wake Senior Centers. We're really glad to have with us again today Brian Soller, who is the owner of Wealth Preservation Strategies. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're going to talk about with us?
Sure. Well, the title of it is Seniors and Their Qualified Accounts. So first question might be, what's a qualified account?
Yeah, really.
We're talking about IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, 457s. But you have one, you probably know you have one. If that makes no sense to you, then you probably don't have one. Most people have an IRA or they have a 401k enrolled into an IRA. And we're going to talk about some of the changes that took place for the Secure Act, which, for those who are watching, whenever you watch this, Secure Act was passed in January of 2020, and those changes will probably stay for a while, depending on when you're watching this. Maybe they'll change them down the road. And we're going to talk about one specific aspect of the Secure Act, and it's the death of the Stretch IRA.
Wow. Well, the other thing too is we're going to follow up in another conversation with a CPA, because the Secure Act coming into effect this year is greatly going to affect what we do for 2020, is it not?
Yes, we're also going to have another session with an estate planning attorney. All that is,
in the works
of the Secure Act.
Okay, so I know nothing about the Secure Act, so
okay, well, again,
let her rip.
Focus on one section. This is primarily again geared towards seniors. A lot of things in the Secure Act for people who are still working. Seeing most are watching are retired, no longer working. So the issue here, the Stretch IRA. You ever hear of the Stretch IRA before, Jenny?
No.
Okay. Well,
yoga and Tai Chi stretch, but that's about it.
Until the rule change of January 2020, before then, if you had an IRA or 401k or any of those other ones I mentioned, and you wanted to eventually pass it on to your kids or grandkids, what's nice about that, whenever they inherited, and sometimes it would be after a spouse died and their spouse inherited, and then that second spouse died, now it goes to the kids or grandkids or other non-spouse beneficiaries. Well, they could then keep that in their own IRA and take out small bits at a time, require minimum distributions, but keep doing it over their entire lifetime. So for instance, if someone, and this is on your handout here, someone inherited $300,000 in an IRA from their mother, who inherited it from her husband and now eventually went to the child, and that child is 50 years old. Well, the government sets up some rules how much that person has to take out each year, but it's supposed to last them throughout the whole lifetime. So if they're 50 years old and maybe live to even 90, they're taking that out over a 40-year period.
So they could be 35, right?
Sure.
There's no age to this.
Well, there's sometimes particular rule. Anybody can be of any age, right?
Right.
And the rules sometimes a little bit different in terms of how much they take out and so forth. But for illustration purposes, that would be a typical example. Someone's in their 50s or 60s, can spread it out. And then the advantage of that is, rather than having to take it out all at once, which could be a huge influx of tax liability there, spreading out small increments over their entire lifetime. Well, so that was, kind of an advantage as far as less money going to the IRS, more money going to the kids, right? That was called a Stretch IRA. Well, guess what? Stretch IRA is dead. So we're entitling this the death of the Stretch IRA. So what has happened? This is on the next slide. So this was just changed again, the Secure Act of January of 2020, that distributions to non-spousal beneficiaries. What do I mean by that again? Well, a spouse can inherit an IRA from their spouse, and they can keep that for the rest of their lifetime. But if you're a non-spousal beneficiary, a child or other heir, now this rule comes into place. There are some exceptions, but not many. So this applies to most people. You have to take it out by the end of a 10-year period, rather than being able to stretch it out over your lifetime. Now, you don't have to take something out every single year, but by the end of that 10th year, after who you inherited from died, that account has to be emptied out.
Well, what happens if you die before the 10th year? I'm just curious.
Well, I mean, you inherited an IRA?
Yeah, if I did and I died before the 10th year.
Sure.
what is my
Yeah,
family?
that's gonna be just passed on to whoever your heirs are.
Okay,
Okay, and then the different tax rules will apply to that. So without getting too complicated about that, just trying to focus on this.
okay, don't
Yeah,
ask
there's
this.
a lot of
The attorney and
details.
the CPA will answer that one.
So,
Alright.
so what happens, let's just say someone had a $300,000 inheritance or $500,000, whatever the amount may be. Now they have to take it out over a 10-year period, or they can wait and do it all at once at the end. They can't stretch it out. So what's gonna happen is you're taking out more money then, and that's gonna possibly bump them up to a higher tax bracket. So for instance, someone might be in a 12% tax bracket now, and all of a sudden, because they have to take out this extra money, it bumps them into a 22% bracket. Well, that's a big jump.
Yeah, it is.
So what does that mean? Bottom line, more money to the IRS, less money to heirs, right? The death of the Stretch IRA. Now, why do you think, Jenny, the IRS made this change?
So they can make more money.
Let's face it, bottom line.
Yeah, so they can pay for everything we're having to do now.
Well, there's a lot of issues out there, and some of the other sessions we're going to cover as far as tax awareness for people and where taxes might go. We're all pretty aware that the government is strapped for money, whether it's Social Security issues, Medicare issues, national debt. And as of this recording now, the government just added on about $2 trillion stimulus for the coronavirus issue. That is probably going to increase. So you have more and more issues going on. The IRS needs the revenue, and several billion dollars of extra revenue they're estimating will come into the IRS because of that. So it's great for the IRS, and not so good for the average person who wants to maximize more money to their non-spousal heirs. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So why is this important? Well, we kind of already mentioned that, but it's on the handout that you'll see on the screen. For those who would rather give less of their assets to the IRS and more to their heirs, and leaving qualified money, meaning IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, 457s, leaving that to the heirs is really not the most tax efficient way to do it. However, most people have a large portion of their money in those vehicles, right?
Or the freezer.
Or the freezer. But a lot of folks, the 401k, that's what they put their money in through the years. Maybe didn't have much more money because they had the kids and the mortgage and everything else. And now they're retiring and their big, lump sum is coming from the 401k, but it's all tax deferred. So if it's important to them to leave money to their kids, for some people, maybe not be important. But if it is, that is not the most tax efficient way to do it. So one of the other sessions, a couple other sessions we're going to talk about, well, what other options are there? Depending on your age and your situation, maybe there's other options for you besides just leaving that money to the children in one of those tax deferred accounts.
Do you think that the Secure Act is going to change the way people write? No. Should I go write my will or redo what I have because of this?
Good question. Well,
because I'm sitting here thinking, wow.
Well, we're going to cover the next session. Hopefully, you folks tune in. Some people have trusts, and some people may want to do a trust. And there's just other ways of maybe planning ahead. Certainly, you can look on the internet, there's tons of articles. Because of the Secure Act, if someone wants to leave money to children, we call that legacy planning. A lot of people are going back to the drawing board and trying to redo this. Like one author of a well-known magazine said, all along the government's been telling us to put the money into these tax-deferred accounts, and you can stretch it out and give it to your heirs, and now they're basically pulling the plug, changing the rules, and we have to go back and try to change things. So depending on your situation, again, you might be able to make some changes. It just depends on the situation. You have to really consult with your financial advisor, maybe CPA and estate planning attorney, put the heads together and see if you can do some other planning if that's what's important to you.
Yeah, I can really see that. But is this something, because last week we talked about, if your money was in these type of resources or these type of funds, then it was going to take another 5 years for them to come back up, probably, if you're like my age. And so do we do this now or do we wait for another 5 years?
We're gonna wait, good question.
It's coming. I
It's
feel
coming
like
on
it's
the next
coming.
session.
Yeah, okay.
Because the stock market's dead, I'll just give you
Yeah.
a quick preview. You're seeing a lot of articles. Now is a good time to, one strategy is convert some of this money into a Roth IRA. And we'll explain that in the next session.
Okay,
Good
sounds
question.
good.
Great.
So I guess I'll see you next time.
Sounds good.
Sounds great. Thank you. Until next time, come on back and see us and have a good day. Thanks.